It's only 3 days until draft day in the NBA, a time where a lot of crazy things and possibly franchise-altering deals happen. And these are 8 of the craziest draft day trades in NBA history. What up everybody, my name is Stefan and this is Heat Check. Let's get straight into it. Not a lot of you know that RONDO was actually a Phoenix Suns pick in 2006. But they traded him to the Celtics straight up for a draft pick for the next year. That pick in 2007 was then traded to Portland for cash. So basically the Suns traded an all-star point guard of Rondo's caliber for some money. They had Steve Nash at the time and wanted to save a couple of million and did this. Rondo has had a great career without even having a chance to learn from one of the best point guards in NBA history. Imagine how good he'd be with a few years of tutoring by Nash. Number 7. The very next year, Danny Ainge executed another robbery by acquiring Ray Allen to complete the big three that would eventually win the championship that same year, and gave up the 5th pick, which was Jeff Green, also Wally Szczerbiak and Delonte West. If you thought that this was a good deal, to top it off, in addition to the top 5 shooter in NBA history, he also got the 35th pick that year, which turned out to be Glenn Davis. So yeah, that's Danny Ainge for you. Moving on to number 6, this is another little known fact. With the 2nd pick of the 2006 draft, the Bulls picked LaMarcus Aldridge, and with the 4th, the Blazers picked Tyrus Thomas. But the teams must have had some second thoughts, because Portland sent Thomas and a guy named Victor Kriapa to the Bulls for Aldridge and a 2nd round pick. So instead of having a scary dynamic duo of Derrick Rose and LaMarcus Aldridge, they saw Thomas develop into a subpar player and traded him after 2.5 years. I'm legitimately kinda bummed out about this one. I would love to have seen the Bulls battle the Heat with MVP Rose and Aldridge on the roster. With some help, maybe Rose doesn't even have to play so many minutes and doesn't get hurt. What if? Top 5 starts with another pick swap and another mention of Ray Allen. Nobody could have predicted that the 96 draft will end up being one of the best classes in NBA history, but still a few of the players had a lot of hype around them. That was the case with Ray Allen and Stephon Marbury. Milwaukee had Starbury at 4, while the Wolves got Ray with the next pick, and they immediately swapped their selections, sending each player the opposite way. While the talent was undoubtedly present, Marbury never really lived up to his potential and expectations, at least not in the NBA. He's a basketball icon in China with his own statue there, something like the Chinese Michael Jordan, and on the contrary, I already talked about Allen. Turned out to be a pretty good shooter. I'll leave it at that. Number 4, Dirk Nowitzki is probably the best international player of all time, and the Bucks traded him. Milwaukee selected Dirk with the 9th pick in the 98 NBA draft. Before Nowitzki had a chance to try on his jersey though, he and Pat Garrity were traded to Dallas for Robert Traylor. Traylor averaged 4.8 per game in a 6-year career. Nowitzki has been the best player on Dallas since he got there. Not the best move by the Bucks. Anyway, cracking the top 3 with yet another little known fact. At the 1987 NBA draft, the Sonics traded Scottie Pippen, who they selected with the 5th overall pick, to the Chicago Bulls for POLYNICE and a future draft pick. Who's POLYNICE? Exactly. The Bulls got a Hall of Famer for a guy who averaged 7 points per game in his career. If the Sonics were smart and held on to Pippen, they could have formed a great trio with him, Shawn Kemp, and Gary Payton. That's a group that could have won championships. Instead, the Sonics were stuck with POLYNICE. They never won a title, and now the Sonics are no longer in Seattle. You're all probably familiar with this one at number 2. The Charlotte Hornets selected Kobe Bryant with the 13th overall pick in the 1996 NBA draft. Kobe wasn't too thrilled with Charlotte. He wanted the bright lights of LA. So the Hornets traded him to the Lakers for Vlade Divac. Divac was a good player in LA, as he scored 16 points per game before being traded. But he lasted only 2 years in Charlotte before being traded to Sacramento, where he helped them become one of the better teams in the league. On paper, the trade wasn't bad. The Hornets got a strong center and didn't have to deal with the risk of a high school player. But then Kobe became Kobe, and the rest is history. And finally, number 1. A lot of you, especially the younger NBA fans, will see this as an unpopular, non-sexy ending, not what they looked for. But you gotta know your history, young blood, and if you trade for a guy that brings you 11 titles and makes you one of the best franchises in NBA history, that's the greatest draft deal ever. All you need to know about this one is that St. Louis Hawks picked Bill Russell at number 2, but the great Red Auerbach traded for him, and today the Hawks are relocated in Atlanta instead. This doesn't happen if they don't deal away the greatest winner that the NBA has seen. One trade, one move, and the destinies of two teams shift forever. ever. That's a nice little poetic ending, isn't it? Anyway, I'll be paying close attention to the draft and I do expect a lot of moves to be made. What are your expectations? Let me know in the comments. That's it for now. Like this video if you liked it and subscribe for more in-depth analysis. Talk to you in the next one. Peace out.